Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to introduce Sharon Rolph. She's the founder of Effortless Vitality. For most of her life, Sharon felt invisible, and when she retired, she wondered how she would know if she was productive. Today, she's a motivating influencer at age 77 as an author, podcast guest, and the queen of courage on Instagram. Her days now feel right since finding her spark. This transformation she experienced is being offered to the public for the first time. Sharon's the perfect person to help others matter outside of work, live meaningfully, impact their life with wisdom and confidence, and to find their inner spark. Sharon's sparkle and passion and her youthful appearance are easily confirmed. The mental strength and the faith can give you a very healthy lifestyle. Potential has intrigued Sharon from a very young age, and she loves people's uniqueness. That's what she sees in people. From her behavioral science perspective, she inspires curiosity and possibilities in everyone. Get ready to meet a wellness expert who's revolutionizing the way that we approach personal vitality. Sharon, welcome to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Sue. We need to get together where in Tennessee one of these days.
Yes, come on down. You have a standing invite.
Good,
so,
good, good, good.
So I'm so excited to hear more. We had the pleasure of talking before we were recording and had a quick call before that, but I'd love to talk a little bit more about the people that you serve and what problems you help them solve.
Well, a lot of companies and natural inclination that we do plan for retirement is all financial.
Mm.
Well, financial is a nice to have. It's pretty critical, but nobody who's really talking about the emotional transformation that happens when you leave your job, you leave your colleagues, you leave things you enjoy doing, or at least people that you ate lunch with, stuff like that. They're gone.
Mm.
They've dissipated. You might get together for a couple months with friends for colleagues that you do from work, but all that emotional health, social health, mental health that you got from your job is gone.
Mm.
I started bouncing off the wall, oh, maybe 3, 4 months into my retirement, and I thought, how do I know if I'm productive? There's no boss to please anymore.
It's true.
You're the boss. Aren't taught that.
Mm.
And the social health, especially having gone through this pandemic, is critical. I've been active for a year now, 15 months actually, on loneliness to resilience, because if you're not doing the socially active involvement on a daily, weekly, month basis, you're going to get lonely. Well, I read by McMurtry, our Surgeon General. This isn't the book exactly, but this is kind of a tag along to his first book, Together. It's really about loneliness. I was shocked when I learned that he calls feeling invisible a type of loneliness. I'd
Mm.
actually prided myself that I had never struggled with loneliness in my life. And here he's saying feeling invisible is part of that. Well,
Ooh.
I'd felt invisible my whole career.
Mm.
It was kind of deep in my stomach. And you know, my I've never gotten that much support from my family at all. Um, I had things to say, and like I was in a meeting with the top guy in our building for general telephone one day. There was about 15 of us, and we were supposed to ask him all kinds of questions because, of course, he's the top guy and knows so much. I wanted so bad to say, do you have any questions for us? We may be closer to some problems that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
But I did not have the courage to speak up.
Mm.
And but I remember like 3 or 4 times I was prompted to, be curious about what questions he might have. Um, but but because I was invisible, who says that to your boss?
Right, right. Yeah, that takes some gumption.
Yeah, well, I have some little art blocks like, okay, so here's one that especially plays into retirement. Have you forgotten who you are?
Mm.
When all those colleagues and accomplishments and purpose goes out the door, you're still the guy, gal that went to college, have all those college friends, your dynamite debater and runner and all that. But that has not changed. That's still part of you, and um, it's might be time to remember your invisible assets,
Mm.
the things that bring you value, the things that you like about yourself, the things that you love to do, um, your hopes, fears, and dreams. Well, hopes, wishes, and dreams. And they are still with you in coming into retirement. And it's time to um, ponder how can they be re-engineered, restructured into something that is actually coming from your heart now, not from your brain or your brawn, you know?
Mm.
And a license to live from your heart may have come with your job. Some people are fortunate to have that. But now you get to imagine what would bring you joy and go do it. You know, I wrote a short ebook that's on the Great Discovery platform. What makes your heart sing? You
Oh.
know, we get so, life gets mundane when you're paying for your roof and your car and your education. And that's probably pretty much behind you now. And so you get a new choice about life. What would bring you joy? Another course out on the Great Discovery is called Make a Marvelous Transition into Volunteering. It's a prime time to both be social and be learning something and making a meaning in somebody's life when you're volunteering. Back when I was 14, my mom, um, I don't know what she was telling me about, but somebody needed some help, I guess. And she said, "Well, you know, Sharon, when you bless someone else, you are blessed too. That I'm giving, but I'm also receiving." So my tagline for make a marvelous transition into volunteering is it feels good.
There you go.
So I do a little preaching in that course, but by the time I finished um, compiling it, I felt like it would change people's lives.
Mm.
You know, the so much of what comes on media and all that is about, looking younger and looking more beautiful and looking, having all these things, but feeling like you've made a difference in somebody's life that can't be bought. I I've been for a couple years delivering groceries from the food bank to 4 families. And at first I thought, well, how come they need food delivered? Well, they might not have a car and they might be elderly.
Mm.
One lady has I think, a grandson who was deaf, and little
Mm.
by little he would come out to the car and help me take the groceries in.
Aw.
And he just did that last week, and man, he's grown a couple inches since I saw him last. I think he must get to come to grandma's house maybe on seasonal breaks, or whatever. But one day I pointed, he had a red shirt on and I had a red shirt on, and so we noticed that we were the same.
Matching. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it little by little I kind of created a story in my mind of why they needed me and why they
Mm.
needed the food bank. And there's come a new term about food security, you
Mhm.
know, and that's kind of what it's about. But I had a small tablet of paper that has really made a difference to me on that said we all need a little help sometime in our life.
Mhm.
And when I put deposits into my food bank, into my bank account for helping others, then they're able to also then be eager to reciprocate. In
Mm.
fact, reciprocity, one of them, back a couple months ago, I commented about her plant next to the door that was lavender, and I like to smell lavender as I go by. And she said, "Oh, wait." And I thought she was going to point me to some more flowers. No, she pointed me to her plum and prune tree that was overloaded with plums, ripe. She wouldn't let me go until she got a box out of her garage and send me home with plums and prunes.
Oh,
That's reciprocity. I give
yes.
you some of my apples and you give me some of your potatoes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it gave her a way to give back, which I'm sure that felt really good to her too. And it may not feel like something that she gets to do very often is to bless somebody else. So that's really cool. And then you received it. You didn't go, oh no, that I couldn't, you let her have that opportunity, which is wonderful.
She was overloaded with plums and prunes. And, you know, I just every now and then like to realize how many things in life are free. And that tree with all its fruit bearing, you know, being ripe was overloaded blessing.
That's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love this so much. So my mom is 1 year older than you. She also had the same experience. She'd retired from a corporate type job and played, moved to Florida and played golf, or not golf, but cards for a little while and joined some clubs and all this. And I thought, I wonder how that's going to last because this is going to drive her nuts. And sure enough, it did. And she ended up starting a business that she ran for like 15, 16 years, 17 years maybe, helping seniors downsize and move into, wherever else they needed to
Did.
go, independent living, assisted. And that was sparked by she had seen the trouble that my grandparents had, transitioning from a house into just a 2 bedroom apartment. And she made so many friends along the way and made such a huge difference. And now it's really interesting because she's moved into independent living in a place that she had moved people to. So she's surrounded like some neighbors, like she helped them get there, right? It's been such a beautiful thing for me to see, because I
Cool.
think retirement would drive me bonkers as well. And it's like seeing that, wow. And then my dad did the same. He retired from a corporate job. He and his wife opened up a yarn shop, which I thought that's interesting because he was a Marine. I'm like, what is he doing in a knitting shop? But he had a blast. And he's colorblind, but people would come in and he'd say, oh, well, I can't help you pick colors, but I can talk to you about the different yarn. And it was really like a ministry for them. They had regulars who came in, and all this to say, you know, both sets of my grandparents lived very long, and they said, you need to have somewhere to go every day that makes a difference. You need to
Mhm.
move your body and you need to keep learning. And I
Mhm.
love that you're like the megaphone for that message. And that is so beautiful. Like there's so much wisdom, when people retire, there's so much wisdom. And it's like it kills me when I see people just, well, all right, I guess I'm just going to watch TV for the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be that way. And you're giving that hope, Sharon, which is really, really beautiful. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Well, this is a book by Ken Dykewell. He's been researching boomers for 45 years.
Wow.
And he says in what retirees want, um, I think he said over 20 years, there's like 3 trillion hours of free time
Wow.
that anybody retired has in their retirement years. And they want to have something to do, a purpose, a place to fit in, to matter, and to make a difference. And yet there's not enough things calling them
Mhm.
to here, plug in there. Well, I started to mention what makes your heart sing, my little uh, book on the Great Discovery. I was flying back from a speaking at a thing in Arizona, and I wrote down 48 ideas that you could have, or well, that could spark your spark in your heart. And it was simple things as being the gardener that takes care of a couple roundabouts in your area.
Mhm.
Or it could be as outrageous as being part of a choir that sings to prisoners. Or how about being a mentor to teach your gift to others in a class? Or as outrageous as following a monarch butterfly migration or touching the water in the 7 oceans.
Oh boy. That's
Someplace
so
along
great.
that line, there should be something that sparks your heart and say, oh, yeah, I might be able to do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. It's so great because I mean, yeah, this is inspiring. I'm so excited that you're doing this. How did you get to this point? I believe you had a corporate career, and how did you end up becoming an entrepreneur instead?
Well, like your dad or granddad, you need to have something else to go to.
Yes.
And I had run a convention here for Christian singles back in 85, 86 or so. And my director says, Sharon, always have something else once a big event wraps up. And I thought, yeah, he probably has experienced some depression because you don't have anything to go to now.
Yeah.
And so, as I was facing retirement, um, I thought, well, what do I need to go to? And in January of 2016, email came in my inbox at work and said that Boeing was partnering with the community college with this coaching class. And at first, I just didn't pay any attention to it because, after all, I'm retiring. And then the more I looked at it, I thought, Sharon, this is a natural progression of my career, which at that time was just being a facilitator, taking problem solvers down to the lowest level of people. And a lot of times they were solving their own problems, but they didn't want to give management the credit for solving or bring it to light there. But I was empowering people. So to be empowering people in retirement, that would be easy, a good natural progression. But the first weekend in coaching class, the week before I retired, they taught us how to write our essence statement, um, how to describe our authentic self, that person in our heart. And at the end, they had us stand around and read our essence statement to each other. And I was noticing as people were reading their statement, they were sniffling a little bit.
Mm.
What's that about? And as it came my turn, nobody had ever asked me to define my soul, is what it
Mm.
felt like.
Yeah.
How marvelous, how precious. So here's what I read to them. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I am tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires. I'm here to light your fire.
Wow. That is so great. And that
And to
stuck with
know,
you. Like
to,
that's so beautiful.
to,
It's an encapsulation of who you are.
yeah, yeah. And I like to kind of equate it a little bit to the parables in the Bible. When you read a parable, you could read it 100 times. It's made mean 100 different things to you.
Mm.
So when you wrap that essence of yourself into a metaphor, the same thing happens. Every
Mm.
day it could feel differently. So yeah, that's my passion, is to help people ignite their spark and live from their joy. Because I feel like when you're living from your spark, what lights, well, maybe I should do it like that every day feels marvelous and a little bit like heaven on earth because it fits you. You're living from what matters to you. That's one day I'd come and I had a wall hanging here of my spark, and I came one day 3 different times to read my essence or spark. Oh yeah, when I'm living from what matters to me, every day feels right.
Mm.
And what could be better in retirement?
Yeah, or anytime, but but
Yeah,
especially, yeah, that
yeah,
is so
yeah.
cool. Oh
So
my goodness.
there is a need for more opportunity for people
Mhm.
to find where to plug in retirement. And I'm thinking that I know somebody that created a documentary on the Peace Corps and when it started. And I think it might be time for us to consider again a Peace Corps gig. And there's even a for Humanity feature that you can bring your RV and and join a team of people who are building a house. And I think they said it runs about 6 weeks to create a house, and you've got your own bed. You brought it with you, and they now call it caravanners for
Oh,
Habitat for Humanity. Yeah.
that's kind of cool. there's so many opportunities. I think, from tutoring to, there's so many. I don't even want to get started on the list because that'll go all day. But that is, and for it to be so rewarding, that's a wonderful thing. And I know, sometimes for people who are retired, they feel like, the big joke is I wake up and I have nothing on my to-do list. And by the end of the day, I haven't even gotten half of it done. And it's like, it just, to have something really, truly meaningful, to do in that time, rather than to just have all this time and not to know what to do with it. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
purpose helps us be more productive,
Yeah.
healthier, more fulfilled,
Mm.
and and longevity comes with all of that. So having the purpose, in fact, I have, I'm not sure I've got a little art block about that, but this is on the front of my book, Explore the Possibilities. Possibilities kind of is a little bit of a spiritual word because anything could happen.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and I mean, even when uh every now and then I'd say, okay, I need to figure out something, and the name of my book I call Fresh Courage in Retirement: Finding
Mm.
Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. And so here's an example of: I love to sew, I love color, and I love words of wisdom. And I worked at a couple Joanne stores where it was part of our job to ask people what projects were they working on. And one day I was in a Joanne store, but I was purchasing something, so I was in a line, and I asked the lady in front of me what was her project. Well, she was making the kind of art blocks for seasonal things. She was a letter carrier. And
Oh,
so Halloween was coming up. So she was going to make about a dozen of these for her friends and family. And I thought, well, I could do that. I've already collected these words of wisdom, and I already know how to sew, you know. The only thing is you need to hand cancel this when you put it in the mail. And
oh, yeah.
that was a little bit of a stymie. I tried it a couple times, but it might get inked up with by mistake. But she could control that, being she's a letter carrier.
Yeah, true.
So, but I remember back when I was a teenager, one of the things, on my list of things I loved to do was to bake. I often couldn't help mom with dinner because I was out milking the cows and gathering the eggs on the farm, but I could bake any time of the day that I had, some minutes. Um, so I actually dreamed up a project. I was working 12-hour days, 3 days a week. And what do you do with 4 days off, So I had to get creative. And I thought, well, I like baking. So I think I'll take 3 or 4 plates of cookies over to the church. And when they go calling on people, they could
Mm.
leave something. It was evidence somebody's been here.
Mm.
And every now and then I would get feedback from people that were kind of depressed or sad, or maybe they're grieving. And to have somebody do something for them was just touched their spirit, helped
Mm.
raise their mindset and their vibration for the day. So every now and then they would share them with first responders too. But I mean, that particular schedule of my shift, I think went on for about a year and a half. So
Oh, wow.
I did quite a bit of baking.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah, that's what a great thing. I mean, I love that this has just been part of who you are for
Yeah.
your whole life. So how do people work with you now?
Well, I'm mostly doing podcast guesting. I
Mhm.
I have 3 or 4, no more, like 4 or 5 a week, and but I really feel like to reach the boomers with this message that you can be empowered to live a thriving and vibrant life. People who have had, work 60, 80, 100 hours a week don't have a support system. They didn't have time for it.
Mm.
If you're out of town with a pilot, as a pilot every day, who's your support system, when you have a day off? So those people that are overworked in jobs that took their life away, people that have been in competitive jobs where it was big hustle for you to beat the competition. Let's see, what's another one? There's about three kinds of people that when they have a day off, what do they do with it? There's no friends and family around, and a support system that they can call on or rely on. So all the more that you need to be consciously creative and observant to your social health, your emotional health, and volunteering, like we said, is a great way to help solve some of that. But I can see doing regional speaking events. Like I have a friend in Texas I talked to last week. I've been at her house for Thanksgiving 5 or 6 times, and she lives right next door to the Sun City in Texas. And she says, I'm going to see if I can get you some speaking opportunities in Sun City. Well, there
Nice.
could be other conferences that are kind of related to boomer audience that I
Mhm.
could be a speaker at. And I'm considering being maybe in a pageant for Senior Miss America. And there would, I don't know, well, each state can have their own Senior Miss America. Not every state does. I think last year there was 40 states that did have submit people for that. But that might be another way that there would be an audience for me, or cruise ships. There's a lot of boomers
Mhm.
on cruise ships. And so I looked last year into being a life enrichment speaker there. But
Wow.
I could easily, as people go through my Discover Your Spark, Rekindle Your Joy, that's just been online now a couple months, that I intend to open up a Facebook group where they can talk about, okay, here's now that I know my essence, how do I align that with my life decisions
Mm.
that feels like it's coming from the best part of me and giving to the world. I want everybody to know who they are at their best. And I started a meetup group, and every now and then I'd say, who are you when you're at your best? And it's like, oh, they just got glassy eyed. It just went right over their head. They had no idea how to answer that. Let me help you. Let me help you.
That's so great. That's so funny. I'm also thinking maybe a TED Talk might be in order. Oops, my internet. Hold on one second. There we go. I was going to say, I think you might need to have a TED Talk. Oh, let's try now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay.
We had a little Starlink glitch there. I was saying, I think you should get a TED Talk.
Well, I did look into that. One of my good coaching friends sent me a book on that, and I may not have had the right strategy for that because I did. Um, no, all I did was submit a proposal, and they didn't invite me to come in to do one here. But
Oh, it's
what
surprising because this would be so good.
yeah, yeah, maybe I'll learn something. Okay, so this block is kind of what I've been doing over the last 6 years. I have been calling the fact that I've been planting seed.
Mm,
Never underestimate the power of a planted seed.
mm,
So, I have built that as a foundation, and now I'm in the process of expanding my business to be something that's regional, national, and maybe even global, because there's boomers all around the world. I
mm.
I did a podcast yesterday with a lady in Australia late last night.
Wow.
Um, and I have been to Australia, but I expect this to take me places, and all my um, all my encouragement and facilitation of other people's success is going to happen even at places like what Sue's building.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that concept of there's no like when you plant a seed, something is going to happen, you know, and
Bound.
it's hard to remember that because there's a time lag between when you plant it and when you see something. And
Well,
that's a
and it's
tough time sometimes.
yeah, and it's kind of like as people watch Sue's life, oh, I kind of like this thing that Sue does. And before they know it, and after 5, 10, 15 years, they realize, oh yeah, I've kind of become like Sue because I recognize what she did is something I want to be known for too. So there again is a lag. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that inspiration can take a while then. That's so great. All right,
Yeah.
I have to ask you because it is entrepreneurs gone wild. So, what is your favorite way to spend time outdoors? For me, I always think it's almost like a download that I get the creative thoughts, and I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but I'm always curious.
Well, I kind of get creative thoughts as I'm waking up in the morning. I pray for like 20 people before I go to sleep and before I get out of bed. But outside, my favorite thing to do every day is take 4 biscuits with me on my walk and feed them to the dogs that I find on my route. And in fact, one was somebody was walking a dog, I guess that they weren't familiar with, but she could tell the dog knew me and that I had biscuits because it was pulling her towards me. You must
Mama, I
know.
got to see this lady.
Yeah, so I know the names of the dogs better than I know their owners. But yeah, but there's also an ocean. I can see the ocean out here through my window, and I don't put my feet in the sand nearly often enough. I do often drive home from church right by the train tracks, and the Sunset Avenue is right next to the train tracks. So I'll at least maybe walk there a little bit if the weather's okay. But the on the other end of the waterfront there's a dog park, and I haven't paid that much attention to the dog park there, because they can let the dogs run wild, for a while. And but they're saying that putting your feet in the sand or dirt is therapeutic for things that are needing to be realigned in our body. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I love this. Sharon, I can't wait for you to come out here. I want to see you in person. I want to hang out with you. This is really cool. I can't wait to release this episode. It's gonna
And maybe I'll have to have a circuit rider thing that I go to the different.
Yes, yes, come to Tennessee. Put us on there. So, all right, where can people find out more about you, Sharon?
Well, my website, I used to hold up my little sign here that my website was SharonRolph.com. Well, it still is, but it is also, if you use the word Effortless Vitality, my company name, you'll also go to this, and it is in the process of being upgraded. I am on Facebook frequently. I have a virtual assistant that helps me post a lot of things on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, I am Sharon underscore Queen of Courage. And
Nice.
I haven't post I usually post weekly. I've got probably 200 where I started out by holding up these little art blocks and talking to people about why this is important to me. So I'm holding worry is a misuse of imagination.
Mm,
This is such a powerful statement because when we worry, we're just spinning our wheels. That ingenuity needs to be harvested, focused into a way that you're being creative instead of fear and worry.
mm,
Um, a good book about that, um, there's like 7 or 8 main fears mentioned in the book Outwitting the Devil. It's a very interesting book. So worry is the opposite of ingenuity. So
mm,
um, anyway, so Instagram has and YouTube has a whole lot of my podcasts. I did about 53 podcasts, and then these little 2, 3 minute sermons that you can encourage and pick your heart up with being courageous.
I love it. So great to have you here. Thank you so much, Sharon. I'm so appreciative of your time coming here and getting to know you a little bit more.
Well, I usually end my podcast with a statement from Thomas Wolfe, and it had been posted on the wall at work. And it said, if one has a talent and fails to use it, one has failed.
Mhm.
If one has a talent and partially uses it, one has partially failed. If one has a talent and finds somehow to use the whole of it, they have gloriously succeeded and won a satisfaction few people ever know. Let that be
Wow.
you.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Sue. It's a pleasure being here today.
Absolutely.